Well, along the way on this exterior restoration project, I decided to take the weather strips out. It just made painting the car a lot easier and a lot cleaner. So I'm starting to put the car back together, and I'm working on the rear hatch weather strip today a little bit. And when I took the car apart, if you can see this weather strip, I don't know if it was bought as an aftermarket product or what, but we've got the weather strip itself right here and a welt. Well, the new weather strip from Wilcox, that's incorporated into one, and I think that's the correct operation. And this part right here slips over this flange right here. So it's relatively simple to just take this old welt and pull it off. And there's some sealant underneath that's still sticky after all of these years, so I've taken some plastic and laid it in the back of the Corvette to kind of keep it clean. And before you do all of that, you need to take these parts off. You need to take the gas struts off and then take these trim pieces off all the way around in the rear hatch area. And after that, it's relatively simple. You just pull the old weather strip off and then slip the new one back on. So I'll give that a try here in a minute and see how it goes. So pulling the old weld off went relatively simple, done in less than a minute. And what you're left with is the fiberglass flange where the new weather strip will go. So I've got the top of the rear hatch seal in place. It's just a welt that pushes over a flange. I don't know if you can see that in the field of view here or not. And I started in the lower corner, and then I worked across the top and found out that I was actually a little bit long. So I was able to grab this and kind of gently pull it over to where it centers up within the hatch. And now I'm working on the lower part, and you can see it's relatively simple. You just go around and you push the welt that has a recess in it over this channel right here. And I'm actually going to stop now and go to the other side and get it started and kind of work towards the middle of the back. So the rear hatch weather strip is done now, and all the trim pieces have been cleaned up and put back in place. And while I was at it, I took the opportunity to clean up the gas struts, or whatever you want to call them, that hold the top open. Cleaned those up and lubricated up the ball fitting down at the end, so it should work well. I'll connect the electrical power. One interesting thing when I took this car apart, this wire that goes from this end of the strut to the defogging grid on the rear window was broke, so I'll have to solder a wire back onto that connector here as well. So my method of installing this B-pillar and halo weather strip is to dry fit it. I've already got the channels cleaned out good and everything, and I know that this piece of rubber as supplied was perhaps 2 or 3 inches shorter than the combined run across the top, so it will stretch. But if you just glued it up with the weather strip cement, you put some weather strip on the back of the rubber and some in the on the fiberglass area where it goes, and then start sticking it, you would be short. So what I've done is put it in place dry without adhesive, and then I put some marker strips of tape on there, a piece there and a piece there to correspond with it, so that I can keep an eye on it as I glue it in place. And I think what I'm going to do is probably peel it back from this end halfway and then do it one half at a time. I think is going to be my method of doing this. So I'll give it a try and see how it goes. Well, I got the power transfers from the gas struts soldered in place back on the top again, so that should work again. That's a nice thing to have done. And this work back here is pretty well done. The only thing left to do is put the underside halo trim back in place. But before I do that, I want to put these weather strips on. And I've started to dry fit this halo B-pillar weather strip, and one thing I found is that it's too short. But it's rubber, it'll stretch. So we want to make sure we get it glued in the right place. And we'll be using a 3M weather strip adhesive for this, and the methodology is you put a strip of weather strip down, a strip of glue I should say, on the back of this weather strip, and another corresponding strip in the receiver over here, and then you let that glue dry to the touch, and when the two pieces contact each other, basically they're stuck in place and there's no sliding them around or repositioning them. So we've got to get it right. And prior to that, of course, I went through and cleaned out all the glue out of the old weather strip retainers. Make sure you do that. They sell toolkits for that. If you need to buy some tools, then go ahead and do it. But I don't need to buy any tools. I've got enough. You can see once I've popped the weather strip loose to glue it up that since the rubber is shorter, it's moved, and that's why it's important to put these tape marks on there so you can tell where the thing really needs to go. I'll need to pull it back to that position when I finally glue it up. If you didn't do that, you could end up short on one end, especially if you try to work it from just one end. This little short paint stir stick that I've taken and sanded and relieved all the edges on it will work great to take and press the weather strip into place. So that's basically a free tool. Well, I'll try to shoot a video and do weather strip at one time, but you can see use this little paint stir stick and use it to basically jab the weather strip into the receiver to where the glue will grab it, and you're good to go. So I'm going to stop right about there, and I wish I could show you better. Well, with the B-pillar and halo weather strip in place, you want to test it to see how well it seals against the side glass. And up here it works good, it seals good, but as you go down it doesn't seal well. And for the most part I like the Wilcox strips, but I don't know about this one. The rubber seems to be relatively hard on it, and I just don't know if it's going to live long and prosper. But there's adjustments you can make to the door, and what you do is loosen up these two screws. You can move the glass in and out a little bit, so I'm going to give that a try. Okay, I'm on the driver's side door, and I'm trying to get the edge of the glass adjusted to where it meets up with the new weather strip. And you can actually make this glass change tilt in and out. And the way you do that is there's a pair of hooks inside the door. And there's another bolt inside where you've got to reach in behind this aluminum plate with a 10mm socket. It'll just barely fit with a socket like this. It goes right up in there. When you loosen that up, it allows those two hooks to pivot in and out, and you can adjust the angle of this glass. So that's a good tip to know.